Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be across this beautiful blue-green globe of ours. Welcome to Real News Live. This is a Toxically Masculine Tuesday night. I'm your host, Mike Barra, in Las Vegas, Nevada, joined, as I always am, by the most toxically masculine men I know. Starting to my immediate right, my stage left, something like that, Dr. Brooks Agnew, somewhere in the Carolinas. Brooks, where the hell are you? How the hell are you? And how much work did you get on the house today?
Doing great. Got into my fourth bucket of mud this week on the walls, but it's not drying too well. Too humid here, and I'm drinking coffee to try to recover.
It's okay. Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's not humid here in Vegas at all. Maybe 110 degrees, but it is not humid, and it's a dry heat. Ask John McCain how much better that is. Joined again also the man kitty corner to me. That's gay. I'm not going to say that. No homo, Steve. Kitty down diagonally away from me. Steve Doran, the trail boss, somewhere in Texas today. Steve Doran, the trail boss.
I'm in a super secret location in, don't tell anybody, Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas. Super secret location. He's a little muddy in terms of sound, not super clear, but we're going to muddle through that as we always do, and maybe we'll throw some money together. If you guys in the chat will contribute and throw some money into an account, we'll get Steve a really good mic so that we can hear him in the future. But Steve Doran, the trail boss, future governor of Arkansas, former Marine special.
Hello. How about that? Is that better?
That's way better. Former killer, former police chief of police. What have you not done, and how many people have you killed? We don't know.
I've never been a homo.
Never been a homo.
I have never had a intimate moment with Mike Barra ever in my life.
Yeah, well, you know what? Spend 10 years in a Turkish prison with me, and that will all change. I'll change that. Also joined by our usual crew, the man, the myth, the reality that is the hair. The man, the myth, the reality, the hair. TV's Blake Wally, somewhere east of California.
Yes.
Blake, how you doing? What are you drinking tonight? Got the Dandy Warhols t-shirt on. And once again, coming to us from his strip club that he owns somewhere east of California. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's awesome to be here. It's actually the karaoke lounge tonight, not in the strip club tonight.
You're in the karaoke
yeah. I definitely put that in rotation. And I am going to be drinking some Elvis whiskey. Still working on it.
Show us the front. Spin it around a little bit. No, we're getting the side. Give us the front. There we go.
Midnight snack.
Elvis whiskey. Midnight snack. All right, good stuff. Okay, well, I guess there's lots of things to talk about. We are not going to memory hole. We're not going to memory hole the Donald Trump assassination attempt. That is going to be on the subject, but the vice presidential choice has been made by Kamala Harris, and she has chosen someone from, I guess, Minnesota, which shows how desperate she is in Minnesota. But his name is, I think his name is Jack Walz. Is that it? Yeah. Jack Walz. Anyway, we have actual video of how Jack Walz found out that he was selected. And here it is. about these elections. Guys. Oh no, you know what? I may have that wrong. Not Waltz. It's Waltz. Waltz. The guy's name is Waltz. Okay, what do we know about this douchebag Waltz? Well, here's the first thing that I want to say. He's a commie. He's got serious problems. But we're going to switch over and we're going to show you a little bit of Tim Waltz, not Jack Waltz. My mistake.
And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. But we can get out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. But we can get out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive.
One person's socialism is another person's, what did he say? Friendliness?
Neighborliness.
Neighborliness. Yeah. Don't know what the hell that means, but guys, this guy is the apparently still governor of Minnesota. He, I hear that I have an echo. I don't know how to explain that or where it's coming from, but I do. That's not true. I bet I do.
Camera, maybe.
No, I think it's actually probably I have a Rumble window open or something. No, I don't know. I'll figure it out while somebody else is talking. Anyway, what do you guys think of this particular selection? Brooks, we'll start with you. I think it's a bad sign because this guy, they picked the governor of Minnesota. That means Kamala Harris is in trouble in Minnesota, doesn't it? Am I crazy?
Well, this guy's a Bernie bro. Okay, so Bernie really tried to prevail on Kamala Harris. That's who we all have a case of right now. To try to get her to pick him, and she didn't really pick him. It was actually picked for her. But this guy is a total communist. I mean, he squandered $2 billion of a Minnesota surplus in 4 years, and he is, if you can believe it, left of Kamala Harris. So he is a perfect pick for her. Perfect pick. It's really could not be more stark, the difference between the left and the right with these two running.
Yeah, and again, guys, there does continue to be an echo. I will try to track it down where it's coming from. Is it my phone?
By the way, the reason he's so happy is socialists love socialism. They just love it. I mean, they get to own everything, including the people. It's the people living under socialism that hate
have the issues. Yeah, Blake. Okay, so they selected this guy, and Shapiro from Pennsylvania was going to be the selection. That's a state they're desperately in need of, also of winning. And he got shot down because it turned out he was Jewish, apparently. What do you think of this selection of Tim Waltz, and where do you think it might be going?
I think it's a good pick for her, but yes, I don't trust the guy. And I was talking to some people. I'm from Minnesota. I was just there, but I haven't really lived there in about 20 years. But I did kind of ask about him, and he's kind of a strange guy, and he did a terrible job during two of the most important times, during the COVID and, of course, the Floyd riots. So, but I mean, he's well spoken. I suppose he compliments her well. And that's why they have chosen him. I don't know how he's going to get along well with her. Well, hopefully that won't actually come to fruition and that won't take place. But if he does, I don't know how he would want to work with Kamala, since she has like an astonishing 92% turnover rate. I don't know why he'd want to hang out with her. So maybe, he was selected. I guess a little bit of a surprise pick. I thought it'd be Shapiro or Mayor Pete. But here he is, and now we can pick apart his record. I guess he was more moderate back in the day when he was a congressman, reaching across the aisle, bipartisan stuff with the Bush-Cheney administration. But since he's been governor of Minnesota, he's been very far left, radical. Fits right in with their agenda.
Yeah, and again, here's a little bit more evidence here. He is about to invest in a ladder company for illegals to get over the wall. That was one of the things he said. He locked the state down completely, and he also tried to force families who had children. He basically threatened, if you have children that want to have gender reaffirming surgery, I'm going to take them from you if you refuse. So he's a fucking commie all the way. Steve, how do you feel about this? And let me continue to try to fix this fucking echo. I don't know who's doing this.
I think somebody forgot to change the battery in their smoke detector or something.
Oh, it does.
Sounds like. Anyway, my feeling on it, the guy, totally turned his back on his oath to protect the population and to serve the population of the state. During the riots, he was nowhere to be found. Nobody could get a hold of him for a statement. So, here you've got a guy who clearly has been selected because he did exactly what he was told to do during those horrific events. And so he will continue to do so. The only reason I'm sure that he was selected on top of that is because he can probably talk in complete sentences, unlike the proposed president.
That's true. He can put words together like in sentences and shit.
Yep.
Okay, well
he's just AOC without the boobs, okay?
Yeah, which that reminds me, I gotta ask you about this. And again, that echo is still there. Where is the echo coming from?
I don't hear it anymore.
I don't either.
Okay, I hear it on my end. Yeah, maybe.
Well, we're not hearing it, so that's good.
Well, we're blaming you, Steve. So
okay. Well, I'm just saying that we're not hearing it, so that's a good thing.
Good. Speaking of AOC's breasts, why do you think she sits like this? I mean, most guys sit like that because they have balls, right? And you got a man spread. AOC sits like this pretty consistently. And what concerns me about this is what if my future wife, AOC, the girl I want to bring to Vegas and fuck all the stupid out of, what if she's not a girl? What if she has balls? Any thoughts on that, TV's Blake Wally?
Well, that'd be a real downer to get that. Yeah, they made a movie like that with the Crying Game.
Steve, why do you think AOC sits like that?
I just think she has no class. I mean, she literally, you look at pictures of her when she was going through college and people lighting her farts on fire and all that. I just think she's classless.
Yeah.
Would be my guess.
Well, Brooks, any thoughts on why AOC sits like that? I mean, really, guys, if you're around a girl and she's doing that, spreading her legs like that, that means she's open to you. She's interested in you. Isn't that?
That's what the body language says. And if she's got balls, I'm in trouble because
I'd be yeah. I mean, there's just things I can't wipe out of my mind. It's like, did I do that? Anyway, sorry. I'm just there is deep fake AOC porn out there in case anybody wants to look for it. It does exist and it is impressive. Let me tell you that. Well, no, it's kind of funny because she's got this thing going that. Okay, the body language thing. I remember one time I was at a bar. We were shooting Uncovering Aliens, right? And I'm at a bar with this chick, and she's British, she's pretty, but she was married, and I wasn't very interested in her, right? And we're standing at the bar. I'm at the bar. I'm standing. I got my knee up a little bit, right? And she's sitting in the chair, and she's talking to me, and I'm explaining to her how I'm trying to pick up this girl from across the room, and she goes, she's only half your age, Mike. And I'm like, well, that just makes it dirtier. So that's fine. And she's sitting there. And I told her, I said, you like me. I go, you're interested in me. I go, when you meet a woman, they either put you in one of two categories. Yes, I would, or no, I wouldn't. Right. Little relationship advice. And she goes, well, what makes you say that? How do you know that? Because she's sitting there with her legs totally spread open and my knee is pointed right at her crotch. And I'm like, that's how I know. So when AOC does this, it's kind of weird. It's like, does she want to have sex with her audience? What? Steve just thinks she's classless. Any other thoughts or theories on the emotional behavior just before we leave the subject? Because we're not leaving the subject quite yet. But
there are women who are feminine, and who have a lot of class, and then there are other ones who are not feminine, and she would be a not feminine
And do not have
woman
class.
and has no class.
I wonder where are my microphone privacy settings on? I don't know. Well, speaking of that, at the Olympics this week, we had an Olympic pole vaulter who lost the competition and lost a world record because his schlong was too big to make it over the pole and knocked it down. And we have actual footage. Actual footage. What did you guys? Sorry, what did you guys think of that one? What did you guys think of that one? And yeah,
we didn't see anything.
No, it's not on
We
the
didn't
screen.
see anything.
You didn't see it?
No.
No.
Oh shit! Damn it. Okay, let me reload it. Because it's pretty interesting as to who it is.
What is it? Wrap around the bar? Or something? Oh my goodness!
Okay. There's something wrong with the software.
Ah,
Well, I didn't see anything, so you guys are obviously seeing something I'm not. All I see is Blake with a cat.
yep.
Okay, so we're gonna open that. And let's try it one more time.
Oh my
You
god!
see it? That time we saw
But
who the pole vaulter was. Okay, that's great. All right. That's good. All right. In other news, there is I guess a congressman named Jamie Raskin who had something to say this week about what will happen if Donald Trump wins the election. Let's tune in on that and take a listen to what the Democrats' plans are for the little people if we're foolish enough to elect Donald Trump. Here we go.
What can be put into the Constitution can slip away from you very quickly. And the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, they want to kick it to Congress. So it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025, to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means. And I'm glad that Sherilyn's creating her new center so we can bring that.
Okay, so this is the Democrat Party position, Brooks. Hang on. This is the Democrats' Party position, which is the using the 14th Amendment to overturn the election. I guess based on the fact that Trump they have a fake conviction felony, and then they want to remove him under the 14th Amendment. I'm not totally clear what he's talking about there. Let's get a little lesson from you on this.
Well, specifically, he's talking about someone who's guilty of insurrection. But not only is Donald Trump not guilty of insurrection, he was never charged. Never charged. Now, here's the problem with what Congressman Raskin is saying. The issue is he's not on the floor of Congress. He cannot incite a civil war to overturn the election when he's not on the floor of Congress. He just committed a federal crime, an election interference, and he should be arrested right now.
Well, yeah, I think he should be arrested. I think he should be skinned alive in 1-inch strips, personally. But that's just me. Steve, isn't this like they're just laying it out that they are going to try to stop this no matter what, which shows you how corrupt these demons really are. And what do you think? What do you think should be done to this guy? Like Brooke says, what he just did is
all these people need to be held accountable. I'm sorry. Are we here? Are we on?
I think Mike froze.
You're live.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
you're on.
Anyway, No, I'm really sick and tired of our government getting farther and farther away from the Constitution. These people need to be not only placed in jail, they need to receive the most severe penalty possible. They're constantly trying to dismantle the Constitution. They're constantly trying to change the way we do things in this country if it doesn't fit their agenda. And I'm just sick and tired of it. And they can all go to hell as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and the thing is too is that they're trying to create a civil war, because in a civil war situation, if there's an interregnum, if there is a dispute as to who's really president, and I would say with court cases out there, there is a dispute as to who the president is since 2020, then guess what? If there is a war declared some way, somehow, then the person in the White House becomes a permanent fixture in the White House and never has to stand for election again as long as the war is going on. TV's Blake Wally, do you think that is a serious consideration? I mean, isn't this what they're basically saying? They're saying they're going to overturn the results of the election based on their opinion about what Donald Trump did or did not do in 2021. And by the way, Donald Trump, of course, did not only, it's not just that he's not guilty of insurrection, Brooks. It's that everything he did was legal, lawful, constitutional, and the Democrats have done it a million times before. So the only choice at that point would be civil war, which seems to be what they want, isn't it, Blake?
Yeah, he actually mentioned that. So they're setting the stage in case Trump wins or doesn't win. Either way, he's trying to show his authority, and that Trump is going to be invalid. So yeah, these people are. Yeah, they're getting ready to either steal it or prepared to do. It's January 6th, 2025, and whether they're going to use Congress to override the Supreme Court or do some more insurrection shenanigans. It's going to be a contested election, and everybody better buckle up and get ready. We can't trust. I don't know if we're going to trust the election, and whether he wins or loses, there's going to be pushback from these deep state swamp creatures like Raskin.
Yeah, well, you have to be careful, because that means you got to win the Congress to keep that from even being brought to the floor. The problem is Speaker Mike Johnson and many of the other Republicans are also traitors. They are part of the uniparty deep state. They are not Americans. They are not loyal to the American people, the vote of the American people, or any of this stuff. So this could very well happen, and it probably will lead to violence in the streets. Speaking of things that could lead to that, in Britain, you can now apparently be arrested for, guess what? For saying something on Facebook that the British government doesn't like.
The time's 20 to 3, 1440. I'm arresting you on suspicion of improper use of the electronic communications network. Under Section 127 of the Communications Act, okay? So you do not have to say that it may harm your defence if you don't mention one question, something which you later are in court. Anything you do say may be given evidence. Do you understand that?
So I'm actually being arrested?
You're going to be arrested, okay?
Right.
Take you up to the police station.
Right.
Ask you, okay, this is in relation to some comments that you've made on a Facebook page. Okay?
Oh, really? Oh, it's a Facebook crime, is it?
Okay.
Right.
So we need to ask you some questions about that.
Right.
Have you got anything in your pockets?
Yeah, can you even get your
I've got my keys. I've got... No, that's about it, I think. Keys.
So, anyone who's been arrested, we can search them under Section 32 and basically murder attack.
Right.
That's for dangerous items.
You said I was going to be arrested under some what information? I'm going to be arrested for posting on Facebook.
Made some comments that are offensive, obscene, and people have made a complaint about that, and it's.
And can you tell me what this comment was?
Okay, well, we'll do that when we interview.
All right. And so, what am I going to be locked up for the night, or?
Hopefully not.
Okay, so Doran, I got to go to you first on this one. First of all, I'm probably going to get arrested before you because I'm way more offensive. But Doran, what are you going to say to these people when they come to your house for something you put like an AOC has a dick joke you posted on Facebook? What are you going to say to them?
What am I going to say? Well, the first thing is I don't make statements, number one. Number two, they're not coming into my house unless they have a warrant. And number three, if they pursue an illegal arrest against me, then I have every right to defend myself.
Well, so would they have even gotten that far into your house? I mean, I assume they have a warrant of some kind. I don't know if
not necessarily, because they said they wanted him for questioning, and not necessarily.
Yeah,
because if you can get the perpetrator to cooperate, then you don't need a warrant.
Right. Well, in America, but this is England after all.
Well, they're similar. They're similar, but if they can get somebody to cooperate, then they don't need a warrant.
Okay, Blake.
Yeah.
Tell me what you do in this situation. First of all, if you don't have a warrant, you're never coming in my house. Secondly, I'm not answering your fucking questions. Go fuck yourself. And where are you at on this? This is literally, and the thing is, Steve, I guess I'm not done with you yet. What should happen to police that actually do this?
They have violated their oath, and they have committed a criminal act, and they need to be treated like a criminal. It's that simple.
TV's Blake Wally. What do you do if what do you not if? Because after January 6, 2025, they're going to show up at our doors. They're going to cut off our broadcast, and they're going to come and get us and throw us into the camps. Blake, what are you doing in this situation?
If they're actually going to go through with that far in America and start loading us up, I'm not going to go like that. I'm not going to go quietly. I would like to think I could be nice and try to reason with these people, but they just like to mindlessly follow orders, I guess. As Steve said, they would be violating their oath, at least in America. They certainly would be. It'd be a very sad day for America if they were going to follow orders and go through with that for people. I can see why our forefathers fought a war against these people and made, free speech number one. Because, this is the absurdity and the insanity if authoritarians get into power and they don't like what you say. So this is terrifying and chilling, and it's too bad these guys don't have guns and some balls.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When they take away your guns, this is what happens. By the way, this is Elon Musk's post 2030 for making a Facebook comment at the UK government doesn't like. And he posts, the irony is that Facebook doesn't even exist in 2030. So this is the future we're looking for. Okay, Dr. Brooks Agnew, your thoughts on this particular turn of events in merry old, no longer jolly old England.
Well, it's not so much the words as it is the actions now. And what you're gonna do with that glove there, lass? That's what I want to know. I want you to know you're being filmed right now. So what's gonna happen is gonna be way worse than what I said on Facebook now.
That's a really bad English accent, but thank you. Can you repeat what you said in English?
I said, what are you gonna do with that glove now, lady?
Yeah.
Because you're being filmed right now, and everything you do to me is going out live. It's going to be way worse than anything I said on Facebook. However, we do have 3 cases in 3 months where the FBI traveled all the way across the country, went to Utah for one of these, drove up to the man's house, opened the door, and they shot him in the face for his Facebook comment.
Yep. And so
he will kill you.
And literally nothing is happening to any of these people that do these things. And
and off subject a little bit, they've been doing this forever. Even with UFO people, they come in, they seize their computers, they have no basis whatsoever to even initiate an investigation yet. They're kicking doors, arresting people, and taking all of their stuff. This injustice has been going on for a long, long time. And the thing is that as it increases, people are going to get more and more tired of it. And every time any official vehicle comes down the street, it won't be pretty.
That's the thing. If those two people, first of all, British police aren't armed. So
yeah, they are. Don't kid yourself.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah, they have certain ones that walk around that are unarmed, but they have a whole slew of them that are armed, and then they have vehicles that drive around that are full of guns.
So the thing is, if that was if that was my house and they were trying to do that to my brother, for instance, I think I would take action. I think that I would not allow those two cops to get out of my home. And
well, just because you have a gun and a badge doesn't mean you can violate the law.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't give you a right. You're a peace officer. You're there to keep the peace. You're not a law enforcement officer. Your job is to keep the peace, and it's not to violate people's constitutional rights. That's why, one of the things I have a huge problem with, and I get a lot of flack for it from policemen, is the worst thing they ever did is, I'm going to go home at the end of my shift, right? When they started that attitude, the interaction between the general public and police officers began to diminish, and it diminished more and more and more and more. And so when I was working and I knew everybody in my patrol area that I was dealing with, and they were open to me, after that happened, it became an us against them, and it's completely destroyed the profession. And that's why you have what you have now, this, people who are willing to go against the Constitution and enforce
because they're egomaniacs. They're egomaniacs who think they're untouchable. And
they are untouchable. They have immunity. You can't touch them. You can't resist them.
Well, unless you try to take away their insurance bond, but that's a complicated process. And the other thing too is it's like I hear back the blue, and I'm sorry, I look at shit like that and I'm saying, why? I'm not backing 90% of these guys because they don't have any fucking integrity. They're not Steve Doran, who has integrity. So integrity is not being taught to these folks anymore.
Well, you're gonna try that, and you're going to end up going to sleep, and you're going to wake up in your own handcuffs.
Yeah, well, I just don't see. I don't know, Blake. When you hear back the blue, do you? Because this is the kind of shit that's going on in America to a lesser extent, but it's pretty close. I mean, do you really? I don't know what to think anymore. I don't know what to think because the police are behaving like the Gestapo, aren't they?
In that scenario there? Okay, sorry.
No, I'm just saying. No, go ahead, Blake. My only comment was in the UK again. A lot that's been going on for a long, long time. Those people are subjects. They're not citizens. They do what the government tells them to do. So, and they give their government way too much power. They have since prior to World War II. Mm-hmm. And here, we think, everything that we do is based on the Constitution. We're protected, and we are to a point. But the nice thing is that in today's day and age, on this side of the pond, we see more and more where people are resisting being bullied. They're willing to go to court. They're willing to be arrested. When these individuals don't follow the Constitution, don't do their job correctly, and expose them for what they really are.
Right. Now, here's another thing I will say is if this does happen to you, do not sign anything. They're going to tell you, here's some paperwork to sign for your personal items. Don't sign anything because they can't do anything really without your signature. So just don't sign anything, no matter what it is. Just say, I am not participating in this. I am not going to avail myself of your services today. No, you got a nice warm cell for me? No, I'm not interested. Make them beat the shit out of you and throw you in there. Just make them do that. All right. Speaking of Britain, more stuff is going on in Britain as well. We now have a situation where riots under the new Labour government, Keir Starmer, he must have been named after Keir Delay, don't you think, the 2001 actor? Riots are happening in Bolton, in Manchester, all over the country, and the pussy-ass British police can't seem to do...
Jeremy, you think you're mad because you think you're boy? You little puppy. You get smoked. How bad do you want me to move?
Just told you to come in with acid and you let them all fucking go past. Are you daft?
Just warned you that you want me to bottle.
Fucking you don't listen, do you? We know what they're like.
It's on Facebook Live. Daniel, come here.
That's a great video of people's feet. Sorry, let's move on to the next one. So, this is what's going on in Britain right now. And, guys, isn't this exactly what we're inviting into our own country? Isn't this what's going to happen in the
They're already here.
Yeah, I mean, this is what Joe Biden's been importing for 4 years, and of course, there's been millions years before that. Steve, you know, I mean, the British government is not protecting their own people. These people need to be rounded up and shipped back to whatever third world shithole they came from. That's probably not going to happen. What do you think what do you think the options are, and what happens if this starts happening in America, which is, I think, right around the corner?
It might. I mean, you never know, because you know, this isn't the first time that different countries have welcomed people in from other countries and literally loaded them up by the boatload and sent them back because they didn't know how to behave appropriately in the country that they happened to be invited into. So obviously, there's going to be a lot of tensions, and like we tell people every week, you know, the police, you know, they're not protecting you from anything. Just like you see with these police in the UK, they respond to a crime that's already been committed or that's in progress. So you have to be ready to take care of yourself, and you got to get away from your immediate gratification attitude. Stay at home a little more. Don't be so flippant about going out and about. You know, it's all about taking care of you and yours at this juncture until there are some drastic changes in the future, which it could get worse. It may not get any better. It may get even worse. But, you know, now is the time to start paying attention to what you're doing and making sure that you are, you know, you've got a place to go, a place to get out, a way to contact your loved ones. All that kind of stuff needs to be done right now.
Okay, so be prepared. Brooks, any thoughts on what's happening to England? And, you know, I mean, again, I think England, Ireland, I see civil war erupting in those countries very soon, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, come on. Islam has been trying for 1,300 years to beat the Brits, and they haven't succeeded. The British had the strongest army, navy, most money, most weapons, and they couldn't beat them. So what they did is slowly, over time, using insiders and globalists, they invaded. They invaded the island. And now about 56% of the island by population is Muslim. And it's worse than that in London, way worse. The last time I was in London, every hotel, every restaurant, every place I went was run by Muslims. Every place, all day, all night. It's really bad. It's not a simple game of just saying, get off the island now. They own the island. And the only way out of this is going to be violence. And I don't want to see it. I hope what happens this week is there's a vote of no confidence against Starmer and he is put down. But I don't think it's going to happen.
Who's gonna replace him? Just another progressive libtard that's not going to do anything. So I don't think that's going to make any difference. TV's Blake Wally, any thoughts about the future of England at this point? And are they going to have to just use the military to get rid of these guys?
If they have some sanity left, I mean, it's a sad downfall of one of the great cultures of this entire planet. And for them to just, I'm shocked that they're just laying down and taking it. There has been some pushbacks, a lot of tensions in England and also Ireland. But it seems like the immigrants are like the protected class here. And they have no respect for the culture, and they're just, by not enforcing things, at least from what I'm seeing on video, they're just enabling more bad behavior, and it seems to be just open season on the civilians that have been there forever. So they're destroying these neighborhoods. This is globalism, and people need to
look what's happening in Minnesota.
Yeah,
entire political campaigns not in English.
Yeah,
the whole campaign, all the speeches and everything are in Somali.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Little Mogadishu. Yeah, it's kind of
taking over Mall of America, and
Yeah.
this guy
I worked at the Mall of America in 2005 or 6 at a little sports bar, and I was there during Ramadan, and like they were warning, like, you know, you got to be careful. They had this huge invasion of all of these Somalians, and they were like, you know, make sure you're like keeping kind of stuff like away from the bar because people would like steal stuff. Not, you know, major. But
Never.
never.
No, they're grateful to be in this country. What's wrong with you, Blake?
Yeah, they're just good people that just want to have a better life,
They
just like
want a
us.
job. They just want a job.
They're just like us, right?
Right.
You know, and So, all right. So yesterday we had a crash. We had a great market crash. It started in Asia. It They ended up shutting down trading in Japan, shutting down trading in Korea. In the U.S., there was a bloodbath, like 1,000-point loss on the Dow. I had heard earlier there's going to be a 2,000-point loss, or possibly that the Dow is going to go to 2,000 points, but it wasn't specified which market. So the reality is, part of that happened. A 2,000-point loss on a 40,000-point Dow doesn't really mean that much. It's about 5%. But a loss like that, let's say on the NASDAQ, which is where the tech stocks were, which really got hit, would be catastrophic. It would be about a 40% drop on the NASDAQ. So now, of course, today they started printing more money, pumping in billions of dollars, buying back stocks, trying to prop this thing up. So the question is, and we'll start with you, Brooks. The question is this over? Was it a minor correction and things are going along great in our economy, or is it a dead cat bounce and the whole thing is going to come crashing down again later this week, tomorrow, even?
Well, there are several things happening all at one time. Yes, they are printing a lot of money, but there's a global perception, and perception sometimes is reality, that the money's counterfeit. Nobody's accepting it around the world. They want other things. They want gold. They want oil. They want other commodities. They don't want dollars. The other thing that happened is Google lost their antitrust case. This is huge. They lost their antitrust case that Google is a search engine monopoly, and that's going to hit them. It's going to hit them very hard. And the other thing that happened was the cryptocurrencies took a major hit. I think the artificial intelligence made its move to try to purge a lot of the big whales, the humans, out of the system because they're using cryptocurrency to buy server space and electricity. And I think what we're witnessing right now is the AI war against the equity in the stock market. Of course, the other issue is that everyone's in debt, including corporations. And the only way they can really get out is to try to buy their own shares back, which is a little like making your house payment with your credit card. But it doesn't matter because only the top 5 or 6 people in the company are able to take advantage of it because they can sell their shares into that market and turn their stock into cash, which is what they really want to do in the first place, and screw all the other shareholders.
Yeah. Okay. So, any other thoughts from Blake or Steve on this thing? I'm just going to tell you what I was told a couple days before it happened. I was told from a contact, the market's going to go down 2,000 points this week, and this was on Saturday. And sure enough, Sunday night the crash started. It happened yesterday, and again, I was like, because I had talked to Andy Scheckman from Miles Franklin, one of our sponsors. Go visit Miles Franklin if you want to get gold and silver. And mention Mike Barra. Mention you heard about it on Mike Barra's podcast. But so the whole thing started. The whole thing looked like it was in place. And I'm thinking this may be the start of the big crash. This may be what actually happens. But then at the end of the day, it only went down 1,000 points. All the stop trading stuff kicked in. I was told that stuff was going to be hacked, and it wasn't going to happen. So again, what I'm getting back to is that is that it 2,000 points, didn't say which market, 2,000 points on the Dow isn't that much, but 2,000 points on the NASDAQ is huge and would start dragging everything else down with it. Anybody have any thoughts on this? I think it's also just a reflection of how terrible our economy really is. But Blake or Steve, do you have any thoughts? Blake's got a kitty. Oh,
I do. He's a stray, but he comes over once or twice a week, so he's a good boy. Anyway,
he looks like your kitty now. Any thoughts on the economic meltdown yesterday, and do you guys think it will continue?
It was very exciting. I think it's going to be down and choppy over the next month, and then maybe it's going to force the Fed to finally do something and maybe lower interest rates by 50%, or not 50%, 2 basis points, so 0.5%, or do something to reinvigorate something, because we know that there's a problem, but I mean there's also so much manipulation too, so it's really hard to say. And they do have those they stop the trading, they halting plunge protection or what have you, so it's completely rigged. And of course, Brooks is right, we're also worrying about the end of the petrodollar, so this is kind of the end, and it's kind of the downward spiral. So they might be able to keep juicing it up a little bit here and there, but I think it's going to be it's down, and it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
So you think it's going to keep going down? Steve, any thoughts on the market crash? Is it a dead cat?
I think it was planned. I mean, there's no question in my mind it was planned. I think it will continue to spiral in the downward direction, but they will prop it up from time to time to try to give us hope that everything is going to go back to normal. So we'll see what happens in the next coming weeks. But of course, their watchword is going to be: don't panic, don't take your money out of the bank. We've got everything under control. We'll have it back as business as usual in a week or two, and then it'll get worse.
So that's exactly what you should do is go take your money out of the banks. Any money you don't need for bills that are automatically coming out, like your mortgage, go pull your money out of the banks. Let's make this happen. Let's hasten the process. Everybody within the sound of my voice, any money that you don't need, your regular money for groceries and anything you can pay cash for, go pull that money out of the bank. Go now, go to the ATM, go to the bank teller, pull it out. Definitely, let's help this process along. Let's help the deep state collapse, because they are in a little bit of shit right now. Okay, in the department of, hey, things are maybe looking up just a little bit, or positive news. I don't know if you guys remember, but you remember the Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker, who has ever. Harrison Butker got into all kinds of trouble because guess what? He actually suggested, oh, wait a minute, I'm not sharing the right thing. He actually suggested at a commencement speech that, ladies, having a degree is great, but you might actually be happier if you got married and had a family and raised your family and worried about your career after that. And he got canceled. They attempted to destroy him. Well, guess what? Harrison Butker gets the last laugh. He just signed the biggest deal ever for a kicker in the NFL. I think it's a 5-year, $25 million extension with $17.75 million of that guaranteed. He is the best, most reliable kicker in the NFL. And guys, I'm happy for him. I'm not a Chiefs fan, but the Chiefs doing this, they may become my secondary team, even though I will say right here, Patrick Mahomes is the most overrated quarterback in NFL history at this point. He's a really great player, but he's so overrated. But I might start rooting for the Chiefs a little bit because they did that for Harrison Butker. Any thoughts on the cultural impact of this, Blake? Aren't the Chiefs really saying F you to the woke mob on this one?
It could be interpreted that way. So it's weird because they got Butker, but then they've also got Travis Kelce and the woke and the Pfizer and I forget her name already. The big musician.
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. Thank you very much.
My senior moment dementias are dementias rubbing off on you, Blake. Come on.
Oh,
dude,
right. I'm not a fan of her music, but yeah, she's an interesting character and she's hugely powerful. They want her endorsements. So that's this weird mix. I'm surprised that he's making this much money. Good for him. give him great, balls to go out there and to say what he had to say. So I do respect that. I can't believe Andy Reid and a champion team would pay a kicker that much money. That seems insane. And I think he did it himself. He didn't have an agent. So that's even more impressive. So the dude's pretty smart.
Yeah.
He was able to get quite a payday. So good for them. I'm not a Chiefs fan, but
it's funny. I heard the old Minnesota coach, Denny Green, who was the coach of the Vikings when I was there. When he went to he was working for ESPN before he went to Arizona, and he said, let me tell you, there's two things that will lose you games quicker in the NFL than anything else. You got to get your quarterback and you got to get your kicker. If you have those two things, you're going to win, more than your fair share of games, and you got a chance to win the whole thing. And then, of course, when he went to Arizona, the first thing he did was he passed on Ben Roethlisberger and Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees and drafted Larry Fitzgerald, drafted a receiver. So guess what? He didn't win anything in Arizona, but kickers are important. Brooks, what do you think about this from a cultural perspective?
Well, it gives me hope when you have organizations that can make autonomous decisions and not be pressured by the fans or by, social media or whatever, where they just say this guy's leg is worth it. And we know he's not going to show up to work drunk. We know he's not going to embarrass us at some nightclub doing something he shouldn't be doing. This is the kind of player we want. This is the kind of player that makes our team great. This is the kind of player that makes our team win.
Yep. By the way, Tim Walz is so woke that his nickname on Twitter so far is Tampon Tim.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. It's pretty masculine. Steve, any thoughts on this at all? I know you hate sports, you hate football, but I think it's the right thing for them to do.
I agree. I agree. Rewarding somebody. One of the things that I do all the time, even if I don't care for it, anytime I see anything that's wholesome or anything that promotes like family or decency, I always go out of my way to like it, to make sure that those people know that we appreciate, that type of content and that, that type of an attitude, because that's what we need to bring America back. We need to have people who are patriotic. We need to have people who believe in, family and family values. We need to have moms who don't mind staying at home with the kids because we know it's good for them until they reach a certain age, and then they need their dad, and we need a dad in the house. We know all of those things make produce good American citizens. So as far as I'm concerned, he had absolutely the right thing to say. And the other thing is women will say, well, why do women have to stay home? Well, if you don't want to sacrifice your career or you don't want to, have children, don't, go to work. I mean, it doesn't hurt it. It doesn't hurt our feelings a bit, but we have to go back to where our children are our priority, and we're not just throwing them to the state to be trained from the time that they're born.
Yeah, and the thing is, ladies, you can do that. You can have a career, but don't expect your Prince Charming to show up when you're 38 years old. You're masculine because you've had to compete so hard to get to the top of whatever business you're in. And guys are not going to flock to you no matter how good looking you are, because all the guys that you're going to want that think are at your level are all dating 25-year-olds. So that's the life you choose. Be prepared to die a lonely, old, crazy cat lady, which is kind of what J.D. Vance said the other day.
But
it's reality. It's just reality. Men, that's not what men are looking for in a woman.
I mean, there is nothing more astonishing, and this is the truth, than a good mother. I mean, when you see a good mother, she is like art itself. The way that she goes throughout her day and gets everything done, and takes care of her children, raises them with the right attitude. I mean, that is the most important job in any culture.
Sure.
The most important.
Sure. And that's the way it goes. And like you say, Steve, at some point, the man steps in and takes over about 13, 14 and shows the kid how to be a man. You should be showing
how to take a punch. How to take a punch.
Well, be surprised how many single dads there are out there. There are a lot of them, millions of them.
You don't want to teach your kid how to take a punch, Steve. You want to teach your kid how to punch the other guy in the face, right? Isn't that?
Well, I let you shoot me in the face to experience it.
It's true. It's True. You taught me how to shoot you in the. I shot you in the face. All right. One last thing before we get out of here: the Trump assassination attempt continues to get worse and worse for the FBI and the Secret Service. It continues to be more obvious that they were in on the assassination attempt. The question is, will anything be done about this? But this week we had a whistleblower who called out the Secret Service. He called out the FBI, and he said he thinks it was deliberate malfeasance, that they were not doing their jobs on that particular day. So let's go to this video and just listen to it a little bit. This is Jesse Waters on
Fox News alert. Secret Service whistleblowers are coming out of the woodwork, furious about last week's press conference where the director, Ron Rowe, admitted the agency failed but wouldn't fire anyone. Trump's entire protective detail's been an illusion. The rally in Butler was the first time the Secret Service sent counter snipers to a Trump event. And those snipers were communicating by text message without Wi-Fi. Only the locals had radios, and according to the Washington Post, the Secret Service wasn't even in the same room as they were. They were in a completely different command center on the opposite side of the farm. Basically, the Secret Service was playing a big game of telephone while Crooks was stalking the grounds. Who signed off on this disastrous plan? According to whistleblowers who've spoken to Senator Josh Hawley, it all comes down to the lead site agent, who they claim is inexperienced and incompetent. Senator Josh Hawley's been speaking with these whistleblowers, and he joins us now. Senator, what have these whistleblowers been telling your office?
Well, what they've been saying, Jesse, is that this individual, the site agent, the lead agent, was known to the Trump campaign to be inexperienced, to be ineffectual, to be, frankly, incompetent at their job. Well, I'm also told by whistleblowers that on that day, she was...
Well,
What happened?
Hang on.
And yet this is who she chose to staff the event with, and she didn't train them or integrate them. From top to bottom, it was a total disaster. Jesse, it is a miracle, not only that Trump is alive, but that more good Americans were not killed. It's unbelievable.
You're saying that the site agent in charge of this security in Butler wasn't checking IDs? What do you mean? She was just letting people in?
That is what whistleblowers tell me, is that IDs were not checked to allow individuals into secure areas, Jesse. In other words, it was a total free-for-all. Whistleblowers portray to me a circumstance, a situation that was totally out of control, where people were milling around, including in what were supposed to be highly secure areas. Nobody knew who they were. By the way, it was also the lead site agent's job to make sure that the line of sight for where Trump was clear, that agents could see all angles, and she didn't do that. In fact, I'm told that the line of sight was obstructed, which means that agents from different angles couldn't really see around Trump, couldn't see potential dangers to Trump. This is pretty textbook stuff, Jesse, and what whistleblowers say to me is none of it was done properly, none of it was done by the book, and frankly, when you know all that, it's amazing more people weren't killed. This person needs to be fired, as does anybody who had leadership on that day.
This person is still doing security. They're still in charge of security for political events. Why aren't they sidelined and under investigation themselves?
This is exactly what the whistleblowers who are coming to me, Jesse, want to know. And in fact, we know that this individual is still doing all those things because the director confirmed it. He told me under oath that, yeah, this individual is still working events. In fact, he said still doing investigations, which raises the question, is she investigating herself?
Right.
I mean, this is insane. And I'll just say this, Jesse.
Sure.
Whistleblowers are coming forward from the Secret Service because they can't believe what leadership is doing. They cannot believe that the Secret Service is not taking action to clear out the rot, frankly. They're scared to death this is going to happen again. We can't let it happen again.
Okay, it is going to happen again. They are going to attempt to kill him. And, you know, again, I realize that this guy, they're saying it's a woman who was the head of the Secret Service detail. That's your first problem right there. But don't forget this guy. This is the guy who was on Trump's Secret Service detail and was also at the rally to set up and arrest MAGA people And I just think I think this is not a coincidence. The question is, Josh Hawley, Steve, I'm going to go to you first. Josh Hawley talks a lot, but he's never done shit to any of these people. Any hope at all? Or do you disagree with anything that was said, first of all? And secondly, do you have any hope at all that anybody's going to pay for this?
No, they'll probably get promoted. That's the way it works in the government. You screw up, and instead of firing you or disciplining you or suspending you to get rid of you because it's so difficult, they promote you up. So she'll probably get a promotion and be in charge of a larger area.
Okay, well, so one of the things that's really interesting to remember is that assuming he ever actually gets into office, that he's not killed before that, or they don't try to shoot everything down on January 6, 2025, Donald Trump won a court case in his first term that said you can fire anybody in the executive branch of any position, which had previously not been something you could do. I wonder if something is going to finally happen on this end of things. Brooks, any thoughts on the report we just heard? It's actually astonishing. It's not, I was going to say incompetence. It's not incompetence. They set him up to be killed. You can see the guy, you can see in the video, the guy who shot at him. And now I'd say it's relatively well established that he was the primary shooter, maybe the only shooter on the rooftop. You could see him walking around and nobody did shit about it for an hour.
Well, I mean, go back to what Rowe said when he was testifying. Here's what he said. With respect to why they were there in Butler, listen, we evaluate our threat landscape every day. We calibrate based on that threat. We evaluated a threat stream that we have, and we put our Secret Service counter sniper personnel out there. My question is, why? Why did you never put a counter sniper out, but you did this day? Because you perceived a threat. And what were you going to do with that threat? Were you going to neutralize it? No. What you're going to do is wait for him to take his shot. And when President Trump went down, the whole world and all those people there that were watching it thought he was dead. And that's when your counter sniper shot. That's when he shot. So
yeah, I
he
agree.
Was silent the entire day. The entire day, the Secret Service never spoke with SWAT, not once.
The reason that they had counter snipers there that day and no other time is because they knew this was going to happen. They were going to let it happen, but then they were going to say, "Well, we had counter snipers there," but because they'd never done that before. That's what I think. Steve, am I wrong?
Well, they needed to kill the participants.
Correct.
Because you wouldn't get away with another JFK deal of somebody walking up and blasting the guy, while they're trying to transport him away. So they had to get rid of him before that time.
Yeah. That's probably just as valid, if not a more valid theory than mine.
Everybody here remembers where they were when President Kennedy was shot.
Well,
I was a sparkle in my father's eye.
Okay, well, there you go. But nobody asked Roe the question.
Yeah.
Where were you the morning of July 13th? Where were you?
Yeah.
Yep.
TV's Blake Wally. Any final thoughts on this at all? I bet I know why I have an echo, but go ahead. TV's Blake.
I mean, I greatly appreciate this guy, the whistleblowers coming out, risking their career to say something about this. And I know I don't know if it's the same one or not. Saying that they need like five people to go. So we have the director gone. Roe needs to go. Whoever this mystery lady is that allowed this security failure, that's 3 and a couple more. So it's good to see, yes, the leadership has to go of these, not just Secret Service, it's FBI and these other agencies too. That's how they control these things. It's just the few people at the top, the movers and shakers in those organizations, and they are a threat to our nation. And
I think it will also come out that elected officials on both sides were involved.
Oh, there's no doubt. There is no doubt.
Do any of you guys think at this point, am I still echoing? Really?
Not bad.
No.
Did for a second and then it was gone. Yeah.
Because I I thought that maybe it was my Microsoft Word. I had dictation open. Let me close all that. I don't know if I'm still echoing, but anyway, do any of you guys think that anyone is going to actually be brought to justice for this assassination attempt, Brooks?
Yes, I do. And you know why? Because we are not going to give up. In 63, there was one film, one Bell and Howell 8mm film. Today, there are thousands. They're not going to get away with it, and we are not going to give up until we catch them.
TV's Blake Wally, do you think anybody's going to go down for this anytime soon?
Yeah, I'll be optimistic, and I'll agree with Brooks. There's just too much evidence. It was so easy to cover this thing up in 63, but now it's overwhelming. There's so much that somebody has to be held accountable. And I know the administration is going to try to hold on to their power, but if somehow Trump can win, then it's time for retaliation on the people that have been doing us harm all these years.
Steve, you think anybody's going to be held accountable for this? Fuck, I'm still echoing. What the hell?
Yes, it will be, but all of the people who orchestrated it will not be held accountable. The people that will be held accountable will be the low-level individuals that will be thrown out like sacrificial lambs to protect the people at the top. And you'll also see them get some really sweet deals like, oh, he's going to prison for 3 years, but we had to give him a buyout of his contract of $2.7 million. You're going to see a bunch of that nonsense as well.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Right now, there is a new American aircraft carrier fleet in the Middle East and the Mediterranean heading to Israel. There are American F-15s and F-16s apparently on the ground in Ukraine, ready to go to war with Russia. Iran is ready to strike Israel at any moment. BJ, I'm sorry, but yeah, his ear is healed because it skimmed his. I can't believe anybody seriously thinks he wasn't shot. I mean, give me a fucking break, okay? You have to understand the 223 shell, and Steve and Brooks know more about this. The cartridge, the big part, doesn't go out of the gun. It gets flipped out. It's just the little part that grazed his ear. Yeah, the bullet. The projectile. The projectile is the part that hit him. And yeah, the ear bleeds really bad. So give me a break. I mean, Jesus, I had to listen to Phil Godlewski yesterday tell people that Corey Comparatori's not dead. Oh yeah, really? His sister's talking to Jennifer Faladori. He's dead. He got killed. So fuck you, people. Fuck you. And you know what? And fuck you 9/11 people too. All you fucking idiots. There were no planes, man. It was all a holographic projection. I've been dealing with this shit in my Telegram all week long. I finally posted a video. It's 9 minutes long. It's 50 different handheld camcorder views of the planes hitting the buildings. God, you people are stupid. All right. Where were we? Are we going to go to World War III this week? I want a yes or no answer before we get out of here. Brooks, Steve, and then Blake. Brooks?
If Lindsey Graham has his way, yes.
Steve, are we going to World War III this week?
No.
Blake, are we going to go to World War III this week?
No, definitely on alert though.
Yeah, I say yes. I say yes. Let's go to World War III. Let's collapse the markets. Let's get this whole show on the road, and just let's get it started. This is what we came here for. This is why we were all born into this particular time. It's time to fight the war of Armageddon. Right? We're there.
No.
All right. I don't know.
I'm here to choose a new future.
I think the only way that Biden and the Democrats can hold power is if they start a war. And that looking at the rules, looking at everything, at the paperwork that's set up, I think that's what they're aiming for. Because I think this week they've been getting the poll. There's a lot of fake polls out there, but if you know how to read a poll, you know what's really being. Really, what people are really saying, Trump is way ahead. and they haven't made a dent. And I think this Walz thing is their last attempt to see if they can close the gap. I don't think she closes the gap. I think that creates a very dangerous situation globally. And because I think the United States government then has a reason to start a war, either in Ukraine or Israel or both. So let's wait and see what happens. Gentlemen, any final thoughts before we head out today?
Well, I agree with you, Mike. They're spending $1 million a minute trying to sell Kamala on every single social media, and it is making no progress at all.
Yeah, I mean, Rasmussen has Trump up 5 or something, with a little variation. He even oversamples Democrats. And with independents, Trump is up 20 points, and that hasn't shifted.
Well, look at the likes. I mean, Trump gets like 23 million likes.
Right.
And even with all this push, Kamala Harris gets 3.5 million likes.
Yeah, and and again, it turns out at her rallies, they're busting in homeless people, offering them food, money, and alcohol to come to her rallies. And then they put the rappers out there to talk about their big wet pussy. Yeah, that's what America needs right now is more rapping, more big wet pussy rapping. Steve, anything you want to add to today? What should we look for this week? Let's do that. What are you looking for this week? I'm looking for World War III and the dead cat bounce market crash. What are you looking for, Steve?
I am looking for the excuses to start to roll in of why this stuff happened and how they're going to make it right and bring our economy back even stronger than it is today. That's what I'm looking to see this week.
TV's Blake Wally. How are you doing, and what do you think about this week?
Well, I think, Kamala's got this little temporary bump, but I think she's only going to go down from here. And the more she speaks, and if she actually has to go be questioned or has to show up at a debate, and then, Tim Walz has his little time right now as well. But as soon as people really start to dig into his record, it's not going to go so well either. So, yeah, they can't rely on their Hollywood influence and their paid influencers and celebrity endorsements. That's only going to go so far.
Okay, thank you guys all for listening. And BJ, before I ban you forever, I just wanted you to know that that you can say anything you want about the audience size of this stream. This is a lower rated stream because Tuesday night's not the best night, but we do it this night because everybody can make it. And 27 million people have watched the videos that I wrote for the Y-Files. 27 million. So my audience is plenty big. So why don't you? Well, you know what? I have something I want to share. I want to share something I want to say to you, BJ. I really do. It's my sentiments. Okay, these are my sentiments to you, BJ. Here you go, buddy.
Go fuck yourself. But go fuck yourself.
Okay, that's going to do it. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next Tuesday. I'm on tomorrow with Jen for Tell the Truth Wednesday. Stay masculine.